If you want to know about Nuxt content, then you don't want to miss this video, because we are going to create a beautiful blog from scratch using Nuxt content, and at the very end we are going to be deploying it to the internet so that you can flex your new blog and its speed to your colleague and friends. Nuxt content, which is a file-based CMS, can be used to create beautiful looking blogs, and you don't need any backend or any headless CMS. It comes with awesome features such as Markdown based file editor, the ability to use Vue Component inside the Markdown file, table of content, sitemap generation, all that packs with a single package called Nuxt Content. So without further ado, let's get into the video and build our beautiful blog. But before that, if you like what you see so far, then don't forget to subscribe the channel. According to the Google Analytics, only 70% of our viewers subscribe to our channel, which is pretty bad, so please do subscribe. So let's start building the application. First thing we're going to do, we're going to install the Nuxt instance. So let's do that. We are going to use npx and then the nuxt command. We're going to call it nuxt3 content, and so it should ask us for the package manager, and we're going to choose bun. If you want to learn more about bun with Nuxt, then I would recommend you to watch this video. Once the installation is done, cd into the directory, and then we're going to open it in our favorite code editor, VS Code, and now we can close the terminal. So now we have our fresh instance of Nuxt. So before we run it, let's install some dependency. So we're going to run bun, then add, and I'm going to add a D flag. We are going to install Tailwind CSS for basic styling. It should add Tailwind CSS to our project. As you can see, it is added. Now what we can do, we can go inside the Nuxt config and we can add the module definitions. So it would be nuxt.js / Tailwind CSS. That's it. And now we're going to install the Nuxt content package. Use bun add nuxt / content. So it will add the Nuxt content plugin also. Let's add it to our modules array content, and also it exposes a content configuration. So let's add it as well. And now we can run our project. So I will use bun dev. So it is short for bun run dev. So as you see, it is running. Now let's open our application. This is the documentation for Nuxt content. I'll keep it open just in case if I need something to show you in the documentation. So now let's open localhost 3000 and you have your fresh installation of Nuxt. Now let's remove it let's clean the app.vue. So now we have a clean app.vue. Let's try to add some text just to see if we are getting the Tailwind. Yes, it is working. Tailwind is working. Now the first thing I would do, I would create some directory. First of all, I will create the content directory. So if you don't know what the content directory takes, we will write all our content inside the content directory, and it would be basically the MD file. We can also create subdirectory inside the content, and then we can use the Nuxt content to fetch those as how you do in database. You can fetch it, you can then use query, you can sort, you can do almost all the operation that you can do with normal database such as MongoDB. Not all, but almost all the querying or functionality you will get in Nuxt content. So we have our content. Inside content, I'll create another directory called posts. So here all our blog posts would be lived inside this directory. Since we are here, I'm going to create another directory called components. So we will also show how we can use components, Vue components inside MD file. So we have our component directory and we have our posts directory. Now it's time to start building the app. So first thing I'll do, I will try to create a basic layout of a normal blog page. So in the root, I would give it a class of max width of 3XL. So this is basically will take up to 640 pixels. So let's do one thing. Let's also install the tailwind config file. So for that, what I'll do, I'll run npx tailwind css init. It will create a tailwind config, which will give us basically the suggestion. So you can see the max width would be 768 pixel, and that is what we want. And let's run the application again, bun dev. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to give it a padding from x-axis from left and right, and I'm going to give a padding 4. And also I'm going to center the div from left and right. So once we have that, now in this area, we'll write our header. So let's add a comment. And so this header will contain, I'll just add some contemporary classes inside the div. I will add a heading. This heading would be the logo area or the main heading of the page. So I'm going to just write a personal blog, and just below that, I'm going to write learn programming easily. Just a tagline, you can add anything. So I'll just save it and I'll see how it looks in the page. So this is how it is looking. So we are going to add a little bit of styles. So for the heading, I'm going to give it text to Excel, which should be 32 pixel. That is enough. And also I'll make it semi-bold. And in case of the paragraph, I'm going to give it a text gray 500 so that we have some variation of colors. So that's done. Yeah, looking pretty good so far. And I'll also add a button here. So let's create a button component so that we can also use that to show you how we can render the button component inside an MD file. So what I'll do, I'll create another directory inside the component, and this directory, I will name it content. So whatever component you are going to use inside the content, inside the MD file, you have to put it inside the content directory. So apparently I have spelled it wrong. So now it is okay. Now let's create a component. Let's call it btn. And yeah, so let's name it btn. Also, I'm going to give it some class. So the btn will have py padding of y2, px4. I'm going to make it bg white, rounded XL. I'm also going to add some border, and also I'm going to add some margin from top and bottom. And then inside, I'm just going to give it a slot so that I can add my own content from outside. Now what I'll do, I'll add this button right here. I'll call it content button, and I'm just going to give contact me, something like that, or maybe hire me. Yeah. So let's see. Yeah, it is looking pretty good. Just now we have almost this portion would be common for this page and the blog page. So let's keep it as it is, and now add the main content. So I'll create a comment just to make it more readable, and then I'm going to add the Nuxt page component, which will render whatever the page we have. So first thing I'm going to create a directory named pages, and inside that I'm going to create another Vue file, and so that is basically it. So inside a template, let's just write index page, and also we need to take a script and set up. Also, we're going to set the language as TypeScript. This is the default language we use, and also Nuxt suggests you to use the default language. So as you can see, we have our index page, but our hire me style is gone. So what we're going to do is let's just rerun it again. So there is an error that says that content button cannot be found. So what we'll do instead, uh, we can just let's go to the app, and instead of content button, they just say button. So it should also import the button. So Nuxt Content will automatically import the whatever the component you have inside the contents. It will automatically be imported. So now let's give it a rerun, and I'm going to reload it again, and you see we have our hire me button. Perfect. So now we have our homepage contents showing as well. So now what we are going to do, we are going to give it a little bit of styles. Let's just add a div, and let's create another dynamic route. So this would be your homepage, and we will basically show all the blog posts right here. But when you click on the blog post, the details page would be whatever the URL you get in here would be considered as a slug for the post. So how to do that? It is quite easy. So you have to come to the pages. Inside the pages, create a file, and then give it a third braces, and then inside that write slug.vue. It can be anything. It can be any name. You can call it ID. You can call it anything. It's just that we are going to use this particular text to get the parameters, to get the dynamic parameters from the route, and then we can fetch the content based on that. So we're going to call it slug, and then we're going to take script setup, and we'll set the line to TS, and inside the template, I'll take a div, because that is a good idea to keep a single root. And also I'm going to expose the slug. So use route, and from route we are getting the params, and from the params we are getting the slug. So chances are you also get this squiggly red line. It is because the VS Code is not able to load the definition for the use route. What you can do, you can press Command Shift and P, and then you can reload the window. Once you reload the window, this problem should be solved, and yeah, now you have the auto completion. So now we can just render the slug here just to check if it is working. So now we have it. Now let's render, and you can see we have our dynamic slug. So hello world, we are basically getting this. So now what I'll do, I'll just add a link to this text. So what I'll do, I'll go to app again, and then I'm going to wrap this inside a Nuxt link component. So Nuxt link, and I'm going to set the to just a root, and to paste it so that we can just gradually go back to the home page. So this is the home page. We'll be entering the blog cards right here. So before we move to the designing parts, so what we will do, we'll create some content. So in Nuxt Content, in order for you to create a content, basically what you have to do is you have to create MD file inside the content folders. Since we like to be more organized, we have created another directory inside the content directory, and we are calling it posts. Let's say in future, we might want to start a video series or a video blog. So in that case, we can create another directory called videos, and then we can fetch those content directly inside our pages. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a MD file inside the post, and I'm going to call it hello world.md. All right. So I have the MD file. So to start a content file, what you have to do is basically you can just start writing your MD file. But if you want some metadata to be used, to be parsed, and to be converted to JavaScript, which you can use, so what you have to do, you have to add the 3 lines here, and you have to end the 3 lines, and now you can write any key value pair. So basically, if I write title, so it can be considered as a key, and whatever you have here, you can then get an object, doc object, and then you can access it like doc.title. Isn't it amazing? So let's say hello mom, something like that. And then I'm going to also give a date. You can just put anything, you can just access it. So I'm going to give a date of today, 2023 10/06, and I'm going to add also another flag called draft. I'm going to set it to false. So you can just query it based on draft as well. So let's say I want to write anything, but I don't want to publish it. So in the query, when you query the data, you can just set that all the draft should be false. So yeah, this is how you can also do that. And then I'm going to also add the tags as an array, and you will see how we can render the array in the content in the component as well. So we have the tags, and now I'm going to add a thumbnail as well. So to render the thumbnail, we can give it a static path. So in Nuxt tree, we have the public directory. So let's create a image folder. Inside that, we'll put our image. So let's say img, and then hello dot maybe JPEG. We'll just download some images, random images from Pixabay. So this is where you write basically all your metadata, and then after that, whatever you write would be considered as your content. So I'm just going to take some lorem ipsum. So let me just try if VS Code works. No, it's not working. So I'm going to lorem ipsum, and basically I'll just take few paragraphs from here. I'll copy it and I'll paste it here. So basically, this is how you write your content. Pretty easy and better than almost all the CMS you can use. If you are a programmer, I guess this is what you will like more than any WYSIWYG editor, because here you can render Vue Component as well. I'll show you in a second post. So our first post is almost ready. What we have to do is basically we are going to add an image with the name hello.jpg. So let's download that from Pixabay. I'm just going to search for something related to coding, and basically I have something, right? So let's, oh no, this is not our image, pre-image. So I'm going to take this image. This looks good. Yeah, and I'm going to choose the lowest size, and I'm going to click on download. Once it is downloaded, let's put the image inside our directory. So as you can see, we have the image and we have our posts as well. So now it's time to render the post content in our index page as a list of blog posts. So let's try to do that. So inside the index page, what we're going to do, we will use a component given by the Nuxt Content named ContentList. So if you want the definition of it, you can directly go to the documentation, and then you can look for this particular component. We are going to use this one, ContentList. So let's use that. I'm going to use ContentList, and then I'm going to give it a path of what? Post. So all our posts lives in the post directory, right? And it will give a vslot. Inside the vslot, you will get a list. So basically this would be all your content. So what I can do is I can go inside it, and you can see we are getting the result as a JSON array. Isn't it awesome? Right? So what you can do, we can take this data and we can build beautiful EI. So now let's try to create a card component. So for that, what we can use, we can take a div blog card. I always like to add appropriate classes just in case if I need to add some extra CSS later on. I'm going to give it a easy white, rounded to Excel, overflow hidden, and before. So we have a beautiful card. Now let's loop through our list. So v4, and so should get a post in list, and you should give a key of post.path. Now let's render the post. Let's see what we get. And as you can see, we are just getting a single post. That is good. So what I would like to do is I would like to add some background color to the body so that we have more prominent cards design. So I'm going to go to the app.vue. Inside that, I'm going to take a style. Inside the style, I'm going to take body. Inside the body, I'm going to apply a tailwind color called BG gray 50 or maybe 100. Yeah, so you have now we have a differentiation between the cards and the background, and it looks more prominent now. So we have the blogs. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to add some query as well so that I do not get the draft element. So for that, I can pass it a query props. Inside the query props, you can just write like this. So our draft should be false always. This should be always true. And then I'm also going to do a sort. So sort basically takes an array. You can also give it object based on your preference. If you have multiple fields, you can give you can give array. If you have only one field, you can also use object. Then I'm going to write date, and should be. Now that we have our query, and basically we are sorting based on the date, so all the new posts should come on top by default, and we are filtering out the draft. What I'm not sure of is the fields. So let's check the documentation. So let's check the documentation. We have the query, we have the path, but do we have the fields? I don't think we have the fields control over here. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to remove the fields altogether. So let's render the image. So first thing what I'll do, I'm going to take a div. And so basically this is how it goes. So in the class, I'll give a fixed height. So I'll give it a 320 pixel. And also I'll make it relative. And inside that, I'm going to use the image tag, and I'm going to also check the source and post dot thumbnail. And I'm also going to give it a class of, this is pretty much how I'm going to give the class. Also, I'm going to make it absolute. And yeah, that is pretty much it. Let's try to see if we are getting anything. So we have a image that is not working, hello.jpg, but what do we have here? We have hello.png. So what I'll do, we'll just go inside the content, we'll change it to PNG, and it should work. Yeah, as you can see, we have our image. And now what I would like to do is I would like to render the content as well. So let's create a class and name it blog card / image, and not image, but meta. Inside that meta, we're going to take h3 tag. Inside the h3 tag, let's give the post title, and we have the post title as well. Let's give it some beautiful classes, text to Vercel, and let's make the font semi-bold. And let's also add the date. So inside the div, what I'm going to do, I'm going to add post dot date. We're going to format it using .js in a bit. So this is how it looks. I'm going to give it a little bit distinction from the heading. So I'm going to give it a text SM, text gray 500. That's pretty much enough, I guess. I guess I'll also give some padding. Looks pretty good to me. And I'm also going to give some padding from here, empty pixel. And yeah, so let's add a hyperlink to here, so that if someone clicks here, it should go to the blog details page. So how do we do that? We will wrap the post title inside a Nuxt link. Let's give the 2. Let's give it a 2. Now we have to think about what we are trying to render on the details page. So in the details page, we are going to use this ContentDoc component. So what ContentDoc component uses is basically if you are having a catch-all route or a dynamic route. So what it will do, it will take the path from here and it will try to match it inside your content folder. So let's say you have a page called post / something dynamic. So it will match up and it will show the post. Since we don't have that, we have the dynamic slug inside the root. So what it'll do is it'll try to find, and it will not find anything. So we have to explicitly tell our content doc to take that path, right? So we have to store uh, another variable, so to say. It's not variable actually, but let's just call it variable for sake of understanding. So we're also going to give a slug. So based on this slug, we are going to render the content. So we'll tell ContentDoc. So ContentDoc also takes a path, right? So you can see the path of the content. So what I'm going to give is post slash the slug.md, right? So this is how we're going to do it. So keep in mind, if you want your post to be in the post directory, then you don't have to do this step. The content doc is smart enough to figure out on its own, but since we have some different setup, I just wanted to show you how you can query based on your requirements, right? So let's wrap it inside the slug. So I'm going to give post.slug, and that's pretty much it. I guess it should now show us this. So if I now put a mouse over it, you can see we are getting hello world. So if I click, you'll see I'm getting hello world. So this hello world, at this particular path, we're going to render the content from the details page. So let's start creating the details page. So the details page would be inside the slug. So let's try that. In the details page, I would like to change it to article. Just a good way to give proper HTML tags. So bg white, I'm going to give it a bg white, and also rounded to Excel. And just inside that, so just keep in remember, we have access to the slug, and we're just going to need it now. So now I'm going to write ContentDoc, and we're going to give a path. This path would be dynamic. So what it would be is basically post slash our slug. This will basically give us the content, and it will also expose a slot variable that the name of that is doc. So we can now render the doc in the template. And now if you see here, it says document not found, right? So why is that? We have the slug here and we have the hello world right here, but the document is not found. What we'll do, will give a refresh and we'll try it again. So as you can see, we have made a mistakes. It should be posts. So this mistake actually shows you your path should match exactly with your path props that you are using to get the content. So it would be posts. And now if I save and if I go back and refresh, I should get the content. But if it's still not working, then what I'll do, I'll run the server again. Maybe it will. So now we have done that and it is still not working. Let's see why it is not working. It is not working because we have a spelling mistake right here. It seems like I'm making a lot of spelling mistake. Hello world. And now it should work. Yeah, as you can see, we have all our blog content. Now it's time to just render them. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take a header. So let's add our comment so that our code looks good and manageable. Inside the header, I'm going to take a text center, and also I'm going to give a padding of 5. So inside that, I'm going to just take a h1. I'm going to give it a class of text for Excel. Font would be semi-bold. And also, I'm just going to render the doc.title. Just below that, I'm going to take a div, and inside the div, I'm going to render the date. And if you remember, we're going to give it a text gray 500. So if you see the code repeating, then it's better way to just create a component and make it reusable, so that in future you don't have to manage a 5 instance of the same thing. So as you see, we have it here. Now let's give it a margin of 2, and that's pretty much it. Now let's add our image. So image would be just below this. So let's just add the image. I'm not going to make it aspect ratio fixed, so I'm just going to give the image as is. So dog dot thumbnail. I can see Copilot is making some good suggestions, and that should pretty much render the image. And I'm going to wrap this whole block inside header tag, and there you go. Now we can render our content. So how do we render the content? Now, if you think about it, our content actually, we just cannot just render it using VHTML or anything, because we are going to have, we are going to be having a Vue component also. So that needs to be rendered perfectly as well. So to make that easy, Nuxt Content also provide us with another component called content renderer. So inside the content renderer, we just need to pass the content and it will basically render it for us. So inside the content area, let's write the component content renderer, and we're going to give the value as what? Doc. That's pretty much it. Also, you can use this like that. Now let's go and see what we have here. So yeah, you see we have our content, but the problem is it is not well formatted. Why? Because Tailwind CSS basically resets all your formatting, and also you get basically this. So I'll just add a few lines of CSS. I'm just going to copy it from the project, from the dummy project. So let's do that. So, but before that, let's wrap it inside another div and give it some margin from top so that it looks a little bit better. So empty 4 would be fine. And also I'm going to give some padding. So let's just instead give some padding from all the area to 5. Yeah. Now it looks much better than before. Now let's add the classes. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to copy the classes, just pretty much same. So I'm going to also add a content class so that we know what we are styling. So as you can see, this is pretty much child's play. I mean, we're just saying if it's not the last child, then we're adding margin bottom 4 so that we have some spacing from one another. And then we have added some size, font size and font semi-bold for our heading inside the content, heading elements. So that is pretty much it, not something fancy, but yeah, this will do the job. And as you can see, we have our content beautifully rendered in the page. Now you might ask me, you have promised that you will show us how to render Vue component inside the Markdown file. So how to do that? So it is quite easy. What you have to do. So first criteria is the component should be inside the content directory inside the components folder. And then what you can do is you can go to your MD file, and then what you'll basically do is you give 2 colon, and then you have to give the component name. This would be a component name. So this is how the component would be. And if you want to add any props or any attributes, you can do it like that. Since we don't have any props or attributes, what are we going to do? We're going to just go to the slots. So just I'm going to write hello world, and then I'm going to end it with a double colon. And this would be as rent passed inside the slots. So we have the slots right inside the component. If you go inside the component, you have the slots. So this slot content is that. So let's just save it. And I'm just also going to rerun the server again. And I'm going to go inside the hello world. And you can see we have our button. So just like that, you can create almost any kind of component, almost any kind of dynamic element, and you can put it inside your content. Isn't it amazing? If that doesn't blow your mind, I don't know what will. So yeah, this is how you basically render a button. To know more about it, what I would like you to do, I'd like you to visit this particular page, Markdown, and inside that you'll get all your syntax, all your supported navigation, all that Yeah, it also comes with a lot of other stuff as well, code highlighting, a table of content. So if you want to add table of content in your blog using this, what I would like you to do, I would not show you right now. What I'll do, you go to my blog, it is open source. What I want you to do, you go and you figure out on your own. See, I have the table of content and I am also using the Nuxt content. I am not using any component whatsoever. Since the Nuxt 3, I have moved to Nuxt Content because it is performing tenfold better than any other headless admin panel would perform. And it is serving all the purpose, and also it gives you all these nice, cool features. So it's totally a game changer for me. So yeah, so if you want to add the table of content and other element, I would give you the link for this particular code in my GitHub, so you can just check that. So as you see, we have the page. We can go back to the blog and we can come again. So what do you need to create another blog? You just need to create another file, and then you can just start writing your blog post, and you can add your static files, you can add your component, all that. So it's time to summarize what you have done so far in this tutorial. So first thing we have done, we have added Tailwind CSS to our Nuxt application. Right after that, we have added the Nuxt content dependency. And then we have started designing inside our app.vue. We have created our header, which is almost non-functional. Then we have a Nuxt page component, which basically rendered the page and from the page directory. So inside the pages directory, we have our index.vue. Inside that, we are using the ContentList component provided by the Nuxt Content, and we are basically fetching all the posts from path post. We are querying it based on our requirements. It is giving us a vslot of list, and we are looping through that, and we are rendering the card. What I would suggest you is create a card component inside the component folder, and then it would be much more cleaner. But I don't want to do all your tasks for you, so I want you to do that. Then for the details page, what we have done, we have this dynamic slug. So we are getting the slugs from the route param. From that, we are using then again another component given by the Nuxt content, and then we are trying to fetch that particular content. It is also giving us a slot called doc. So then from the doc, we are rendering title, date, thumbnail, and then you are using another component called content renderer, which basically render your content in a very good visual appealing way. So in the value props, we are just giving the docs and it is rendering the content. And inside the content, we basically write our content. You can think of it as a database, and you can think of the directory inside the content as your collections or table if you are from relational database. And yeah, this is basically how you write your content. These are the meta, this is your content, and this is how you add dynamic view component to inside your MD Markdown file. A few things I have missed in this videos are as follows. So first of all, you can also use composable. If you want to use composable, like how you fetch the data from the backend, you can use that as well. So here you can see the query content. So this is basically gives you the list of the documents. So how it is getting used is use async data, and then you are getting the query content, you are giving the path, and then you're chaining that with the find one, or you can find all. So you will get an array, or you are getting just the data. So this is how you get it. Then you have the query builder, just like how we use, but in this case they are using a composable, not a component. So whatever you prefer, you can use that. It is pretty much same. So we have the query content, so we can pretty much inside our pages and the slug, we can pretty much not use that, and we can still have our component. Also, one thing I want to mention is that the Nuxt content also gives you a very good API. So API endpoints as well to fetch your content if you want to use it somewhere else, maybe in an application or somewhere else or some other application. What you can do is you can basically go to API/content. It should give you the response. Okay, it is not that, but I guess it is something. So let's check that. We'll check for the API. Yeah, it should be the API content and then your query. So let's say posts, and we don't see anything. So how do we query the content actually? Let's see. But I'm pretty sure that it gives you the API. That's what I did with my blog as well. So let's try to go inside the directory and see if we have any server route. So this is this now comes with the Nuxt dev tool, now comes with the Nuxt installation. So you can just use it right away. So we have the server route. Yeah, we have the server route right here. So let's see. Let's try to request. As you can see, we have the server route. So basically, apparently you have to go right here, localhost 3000 and then /API content like that. But this, yeah. So as you can see, you basically get a REST API as well if you are using the Nuxt content. This is pretty awesome, guys. And I hope if you have a blog or if you want to create a blog and you don't know what to use as a backend, then I guess if it's just a static blog, then just use this one. So now let's see how we can deploy this thing. So let's deploy the application to the Netlify. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to log into the application. And I hope you already have an account. If you don't, then connect to your GitHub or use your email to create an account. Now, as you can see, I have multiple projects. I'm not going to show you, so I'll be just blurred out this part. Now, to deploy it, first, what you have to do, you have to click on Add New Site. So then you have to click on Import an Existing Project. Click on that. Now you have to select the version manager provider. So in this case, we are going to use GitHub. So it is authorized. And now I'll choose my project. So it should be the Nuxt Content. Let's see. As you can see, we have our project Nuxt Content demo. Now click on it. So basically, you have to choose the branch to deploy. Since I have only one branch, so I'm going to choose main. And since all my files are in base directory, so I don't have to do anything. And then we have this build command. So for build command, what I'm going to do, I'm going to use npm run generate. We want a static site, and after that our website should be in the dist folder. So let's try with that configuration. We don't need any environment variable, neither we need any function. So let's click on deploying Nuxt Content demo. So it is started building the project. Wait for it to finish. It should take at least 3 to 5 minutes. All right, seems like our website is deployed. Now let's click on the open production deploy. And as you see, we have our brand new website. Congratulations to you for completing this small milestone. So let's try to go inside the blog, and yeah, you see all the content as well as your thumbnail, all the things good as new. So I hope after watching this video now, you can also start using this awesome package. And if you're having any problem, then do join our Discord channel and we'll try to help you there. So I'll meet you in the next video. Till then, stay blessed, stay happy.